Hey everyone, this is Vic, Vic's Basement Brewcast, brought to you by South Jersey Beer Scene. And I am here with my buddy and my cohort, Richard.
Howdy, kind
Say
sir.
hey, Richard.
Hey, Richard.
Where are we, Richard?
We are in the basement.
We're in the basement. Finally back in the basement. I think this is the first time probably in 18 months we've been on there. And this is actually the first time we've been YouTubed live from the basement. Well, not really live, but it'll look live when you see it. So you can pretend it's live if you want.
Well, we're breathing.
We are breathing. We are live.
Yeah.
We are live. But we are here in the basement and so excited. We are here with one of our future up-and-coming brewery owners, John Ross Cocozza from Ross Brewing.
What's up, guys? Happy to be here.
Good to have you, John. Good to have you. Welcome to the reopening
Yeah.
of the basement.
I'm kind of honored here. I mean, this is like, we're starting back up again, 18 months. Wow.
Yeah, this is people are going to be jealous that you're here before then.
We're used to
All of my Ocean County friends and stuff, they're going to be jealous of. So, Ross Brewing. And,
Yes.
you know, one thing, Richard, now, I don't know if you followed me, but Ross Brewing, your merchandising and your branding has been in place for a couple of years now.
Oh, yeah, for
You're
sure.
all over the place. So why don't you talk a little bit about the genesis of Ross Brewing,
Sure.
why you decided to start it, and talk a little bit about the merchandising that you're into also.
Absolutely. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. And again, pleasure to be here. Happy to see you guys. You know, you made some great pizza before we came on the air. I was able to nosh on that. So Ross Brewing, right? What's the genesis? So, you know, I had, back around 08, 09, I had built, owned, and operated a couple of craft beer pubs. One up in Matawan, Maloney's Pub, one over in Staten Island, the Wild Goose Pub. And our kind of mantra there was no Bud Miller Coors Corona. It was all crafts and imports that we liked. And, you know, at the same time, started home brewing out in the garage. And at the same time, I was working for a company, L'Oreal, in a manufacturing plant in Piscataway, and, you know, figuring out the costs of filling bottles with liquid all day long. And, you know, I just kind of put it all together and said, I'm having my midlife crisis. Why haven't I opened a brewery yet? And all the ingredients were there. So, you know, I invited my father-in-law to join me. He had been making wine in his spare time, and I tried to convert him over to beer. So he's out in the garage. We got a few local home brewers from the Monmouth County Home Brewers Association. We got them to come out to the garage. You know, we started, you know, making some beers. And it's just like we all do, Vic, right? You know, you start giving them out to your friends and get feedback. Okay, I like this one. This one I would like to see a little bit more like this next time. And we just started thinking, you know, maybe we could actually give this a go. And so I was actually back in school doing my MBA at the time, so I wound up making my sort of final project, the Ross Brewing business plan. And I was able to get a lot of feedback from smart people. I was up at the University of Rochester. I went to visit with the guys at Genesee High Falls Brewing. And, you know, they're one of the oldest continuous brewers. You know, they made it through Prohibition and stuff. And so showed them the business plan, got some feedback from them while I was up there, showed some people down in New York City that I knew that had some breweries. And in the end, we ultimately decided that, you know, we're gonna give it a launch. So you mentioned the merchandising. We established sort of the Ross Brewing Instagram account just about 4 years ago. And, you know, it would just show us brewing in the garage, you know, did a few backyard tasting parties, and really started to hone in on what sort of branding we like to do. And, you know, we applied for licenses in both states. The license in New York actually came in first. So we started selling, we did our official Ross Brewing launch party, but not at Ross Brewing in Middletown, New Jersey, not anywhere in New Jersey, just because things take a little longer out here. The license in New York came in like 2 months. So we did the Ross Brewing launch party in December of 2019 in a bar in New York. Actually, it was a brewery. It was Death Avenue Brewing Company up in Hell's Kitchen. And that was December of 19. We started selling January of 20. First month, opened 20 accounts in New York City. Second month, February, opened 20 accounts in New York City. Now we're up to 40. We're feeling good. March of 2020. What happens? Yeah, and then you guys know the story from there.
Yeah.
So, but in October of 2020, we're coming up on almost our 1-year anniversary of selling our beer here in New Jersey now. And that's our home market. That's where we want to be selling. We used New York for those few months as a test market, but October 15, 2020, that was our launch date for selling. We're in 12 of the 21 counties now. And of course, now we're looking forward to the next step, which is when the brewery opens and I have you guys come up by us.
Right.
I look forward to that. Look forward to that for sure. Now, you mentioned, was that the name of that brewery in Hell's Kitchen? Death Avenue?
Death Avenue.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, it dates back to the times when trolleys were a lot more prevalent, and the trolley station and sort of the train station, the terminal where Hudson Yards is, that big development now.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the night, all the trolleys and trains would come back there, and if you weren't careful when you were crossing 10th Avenue, you got ran over and killed, and so that's how I got the name Death Avenue.
Now, that's where I told you that I was originally from New York. My mom grew up in Hell's Kitchen.
Oh, get out of here!
Yeah, that's where my mom
Oh,
grew
that's
up,
great.
yeah.
She might remember those days. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a possibility. So, talk a little bit about your location, where you're going to be. I've seen some pictures of where you're going to be, and it's going to be freaking awesome there. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, that's very kind of you to say, first of all. Thank you very much. We, the reason we started that Instagram account 4 years ago, and it's taken, all these stages, is because we've had some stops and starts along the way. So we had what we thought was a great location in the heart of downtown Red Bank, a 150-year-old all-brick firehouse right in the middle of downtown.
Oh,
Movie theater as our next door neighbor.
That's where I thought you were going to be initially.
Right, and so did I.
Yeah.
So did we all. I remember the day that we signed the lease. We got the key. I think we got something like 1,000 likes. Like people were rooting for us. We finally got this spot. And the problem was, there were multiple problems, but just to speed it up, the landlord wasn't ready. He couldn't get the building ready for us. We kept wanting to get started doing work. He's like, well, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. He was feuding with his neighbors, and ultimately, after almost 2 years of us waiting to get in, we exercised the out clause in the lease, and we got out, and we went a different direction, and that's the direction you were just talking about, which is we went over the river, over the Navesink River from Red Bank into Middletown. And in Middletown, we found a spot that we think, and we hope, can really set us apart. It's a huge property. It's 2 buildings. One to allow us to do all of the production that we want to do, so much bigger than that firehouse had been. A separate second building that's actually built out over the water. It has a dock, 4 boat slips. People could pull their boats right into the tasting room. The tasting room is on the water. The second
nice.
floor, skyline views of New York City. And then in between, of course, a big lot for an outdoor beer garden in the back, an additional beer garden receiving area in the front with a miniature tasting room. So there's a lot going on. And additionally, there's also a lot of room to expand as we want to put in new features, whether it's a grain silo or another 8 picnic tables. We've got the room for all that. And the other big difference is, whereas in Red Bank we were renting and subject to the whims of that landlord, in this case we were actually able to buy the property. We're next door to super cool guys. It's the Belford Seafood Co-op. These fishermen have been there for 100 years or more, generations of fishermen. They're great. We just did an oyster stout. You can't get fresher. We sourced it from our next door neighbors who who harvested them the day before. And then on the other side, it's the New York Waterway Fast Ferry to Manhattan. So what we're hoping is, people, when they start going back to work again, come back, maybe before you go home, stop into the tasting room for a pint. So we really like the location, and we're looking forward to being able to open up soon and welcome you guys.
That's great. Now, how big of a brewery is it going to be? What size?
So it's actually a dual system. It's a 15-barrel system and a 3-barrel system in parallel. So they share a hot and cold liquor, share some heat exchangers. There's some efficiencies there. It's something of my own design where The theory being, anyway, the 15 barrel can fill 15s and 30s fermenters in terms of distribution. The 3 barrel fills a whole bunch of 3 barrel fermenters that keeps us nimble for the tasting room to have different things to try. Hey, if people like it in the tasting room, we can move it into production.
Nice.
Now, are you actually brewing there on site yet?
No, we can't do that yet.
You don't have your ABC blessings or
No,
anything
we
like
don't.
that?
We don't. And hopefully within a month or two that could happen.
Because New Jersey's very speedy on that side of the world.
Richard, you said it. And we love how speedy they are. But we just actually had some inspections this past week from the town of Middletown, just in terms of plumbing and electrical inspections that we passed. So that's going to be able to get us to our C of O, our certificate of occupancy. We take that, we send that over to the state, and that could hopefully, move forward with the licensing. So we haven't been able to brew there, and I guess if I'm anticipating maybe one of the next questions, if we're not brewing there, but we're selling beer for the last year and a half, we're contracting pretty much everywhere.
Okay.
You've heard the term gypsy brewer. I truly do feel like, what was the name for the gypsies? The travelers, because we're on the road all the time. If we can identify, I've got an exceptionally gifted sense of smell, right? If I could smell an empty tank somewhere, I'm on the phone with the owner. Can we contract in that tank for the next 2 weeks? So we've probably, let's see here. I think we've contracted beer so far at 7 different locations in New Jersey and New York. Yeah.
And you did anticipate. That is the next question I was going to ask you. You're not brewing this, so you did a good job at anticipating. Okay, we are going to step away and take a little break. We're going to talk more about the brewing process, talk about some of the recipes, and try some of Ross Brewing's beers. So stay tuned for a word from BruYou, and we will be right back.
BruYou is the app to send and receive drinks. Buying a drink with BruYou is easy. First, select a recipient, choose the location, and then pick a drink from their menu and send it out. It's easy to stay connected with the people you care about with BruYou. Whether it's a birthday or promotion, or just because, sending a drink with BruYou is great for any occasion. When someone buys you a drink, you'll receive a notification with the details, and the drink will be stored in the app until you redeem it. When you're ready to redeem a drink, follow the prompts and show the bartender the confirmation screen. Once your drink is received, close it out on the app and say thanks. Then, cheers! You just received your first drink on BruYou. Available for download on the App Store and Google Play Store.
Hey everybody, we are back. Hope you enjoyed that little commercial from BruYou. Remember, check out that app. You can actually buy Buddy's beers at different locations, wherever you are. So make sure you check that out. So we are back with John from Ross Brewing. And we, for the first time, I think, Richard, we are going to try a cider on the show. I don't think we've ever had a cider. So, John, tell us about what we're drinking right now.
Sure. So we do a couple of different ciders in addition to the beer lineup. This is our pink rosé cider. So for this one, we use New York State grown apples. We use New York grapes as well, grape must. So after it's been made into a wine, there's a pumice, or must as they call it. It's the skin that's a little bit of the flesh, the juice, everything that's left over after the grapes have been trampled. So we throw that in here along with some rose hips, some hibiscus leaf, and it sounds like that would be very sweet. We do ferment down most of the sugar, so it's a medium dry type pink rosé cider, and did very well for us this past summer, especially up and down the beach. Something very crisp, not overly, alcohol. We do some other ciders that are heavier than this one, but this is nice stuff.
Yeah, this is crushable.
It's really nice. 5.5. So.
Yep.
Johnny, Justin, you guys want to try this at all?
Not right now. Later.
Yeah.
Like
Thank
said,
you.
on
By the way, just a shout out to the Cashew Boys, Johnny and Justin, who are the ones responsible for making us look good on this. So thank you guys. Always a great job. You guys are fantastic. So very, very nice cider. Richard, what do you think?
Very nice.
We do one that's coming out in a month or so. That's our fall harvest cider. It's a little bit more robust. It's about 6.8% on that one. And whereas obviously this one is sort of that pink hue and color that we get from the grape presence and the rose and hibiscus. That one is a more traditional cider in terms of color and appearance, but we do hit it with an array of fall spices. So that's your pumpkin picking cider.
Okay.
That's the one that you're going to take to Thanksgiving, you know. And you know, just we find more and more now with breweries, you know, people are going to come in, they're going to ask perhaps for a gluten-free option. And obviously, there's ways you can brew. You can brew with sorghum. You can brew a traditional beer and you know process the alcohol out afterwards. But in this case, you know, we use our license to go out and just like we contract brew, so we contract fermented this with my friends at Orchard Hill Cider Mill. They're in New Hampton, New York. Over the border, closest to, I would say, like the Woodbury Commons. I don't know if you know that mall.
Okay.
So it's a hike when we go up there. But as I said, we only do 2 or 3 ciders a year, so it's worth it.
That's really nice. Very
Thank
nice.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Richard.
Next.
Next, you're the beer guy now, so
All right.
we're going to check out and see what else we have in here.
Your choice, Richard.
All right. Next can.
Anything
is...
in those cans you got there?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
And this one is called It's a Mood. It's a double dry hop milkshake IPA. It's got some cherries and vanilla in it.
That's right. I don't know when this is going to air. I can tell you this starts shipping to the public tomorrow. So we're actually having it here in the basement before anybody in the state, with one exception I'll talk about in a moment, has had it. This is, It's a Mood, as you said, thank you. It is a cherry vanilla milkshake IPA. For this one we use sweet cherries, vanilla, and a bit of lactose to milkshake it up. Comes in roughly 7.7% ABV. And the only people that have had this, as I said, because it doesn't start shipping until tomorrow, is last weekend we did a festival at Monmouth Park Racetrack.
Okay.
And we brought a few sixtels of this there. And boy, I don't know if it's, you know, whether it's the beer or it's the style, but people seem to respond well. So we're certainly very happy with it.
The
Really,
nose
really
is really
nice.
hoppy.
Very nice.
It's great.
Very nice.
You've got Citra. Can I just, if you pass me the can for a moment there, Vic, I wanted to show you something. So in this particular one, as I said, there's cherries, vanilla, lactose, but also Citra Mosaic Amarillo. Those are your hops here. And, you know, we've started to attract some attention from can collectors. You talked about the merchandising, the branding. So this particular one has some holographic foil on it.
Okay.
So people like the patterns and stuff, collect them. I prefer if they really just keyed in on the beer, but sometimes, you know, you never know. We get email requests from people in other countries. They don't know from Ross Brewing, but they might see an Instagram post or something and said, hey, can you send me a can for my collection? It has to be empty to be mailed. I was like, I'll handle the emptying and I'll send you the empty.
There you go. Tell us about the design on the can, the label design that you have, because this is a nice design too, the pink rosé.
I appreciate that. Yeah, so, you know, we've got a good team. We all work together to try to come up with what we feel are the right designs for each can. We've got a few different series of beers. Our core beers, the ones that we sell the most of and have the most tap handles at bars and restaurants all over the state, that's our River series. So it's our flagship, our Navasink IPA, our Shrewsbury Lager, our Passaic Porter, our Manasquan Wit, Shark River Pils. More recently, we've added the Tom's River Pale Ale to that, and soon we're going to have our Raritan Red Rye as well. So those cans look a very consistent way. When we do something that's maybe a little bit double dry hop, maybe it's a New England or a hazy, or in this case a milkshake, we tweak the can design a bit to sort of reflect that. So on the shelves, our fans can know instantly, without being able to even read it by the style of can, what sort of beer it is. So in this case, It's a Mood, you know, which is something I've heard my daughter say more times than I could count and really didn't understand what it meant. But it kind of means if, you know, it's something's relatable, you know, you can agree with it, right? So, yeah, that's a mood. I actually went a different direction, and so we did something, it's almost reminiscent, guys, you might remember this more than Justin and Johnny here, more of a mood ring. sort
Yeah.
of.
I do remember.
yeah.
So
Moon Rings.
that's kind of what we're going for there.
This is more than you would think a milkshake IPA to be. It's really balanced. You know, it's not a big vanilla,
Not a
sweet
huge
cherry
sugar bomb. No.
Yeah, not at all. You know.
We wanted to get the flavors, but we want you to feel the hops as well.
Yeah.
We
definitely feel the hop.
That's sort of our thing, you know, at Ross. Obviously, the styles are popular, whatever the case may be. But if you're going to call it an IPA, we want there to be some hop presence.
Very nice.
Well.
Where, give us the bottle now.
Ooh,
Because time is winding down.
All right.
Our director is giving me the signal there.
Okay.
And he's the boss. I always listen to him.
And I'm sure at a beautiful bar like this, you've got a bottle opener at the ready.
Right here.
Oh, here we go, Vic.
That's it.
That's it.
Yes.
So this one here, as I said, this is shipping this week. That one doesn't even start shipping for 2 or 3 weeks.
This is
So it's called Tarted Up.
tarted up.
So we, it's the second release for us in this 500 ml celebration bottle series. We did one last winter called Brux Royale. It was a 12% Belgian chocolate stout. And on that one, rather than using a traditional stout London or English ale yeast, we actually used a Belgian Abbey ale yeast.
Okay.
And, excuse me, and it had actual Belgian chocolates in the mash, along with vanilla, cacao, molasses, whole bunch of stuff. We actually, this past summer, 2 different festivals, we actually won a gold medal with that beer. Nice. So with this beer, we wanted to create a companion piece for it, something that could stand next to it on a table. So this is Tarted Up. It's a 10% Imperial Tart Cherry Saison. So Vic, we were able to have one of your saisons before we came on the air. Very tasty. I asked you about the yeast because I was able to taste the Belgian funk, the Belgian spice notes. Yeah. So that's what we started with here. This was our normal farmhouse saison recipe. But to that, we added some cherries, but not sweet cherries like It's a Mood. Here we did wild or tart cherries.
Okay. Yeah.
That, you know, they already have a bittersweet quality to them anyway.
Giving it the little bit of the sourness of it.
Exactly. Like, what's the candy? Like a sweet tart. So... and then after that, after we added it, fermented it with those cherries, we then soured the beer as well. So comes in at a nice alcohol. You know, if someone's going to pay a little bit more for a premium bottle, I feel we should give them something a little bit more as well.
I feel like if I wanted to get somebody into sours, this would be perfect.
This is really nice. I love the dry finish on it. Nice and dry.
Yeah.
Appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
Now, before we start closing up, tell us a little bit about the recipes, etc. You know, I know you don't necessarily do all the brewing anymore.
Not anymore,
but,
not these days.
You know, talk about the recipes. Are most of them your original recipes? Or?
So, really good question. So our core 4, if you will, right? Navasink IPA, Shrewsbury Lager, Manasquan Wit, and Passaic Porter. Those recipes are the same as I was brewing in my garage, you know, with Mike and Dan and the guys. That's how we got started, and those are the same beers that people are tasting out in the market now. But these days, unfortunately, there's a business aspect to running the brewery as well, and so you can't always get the boots on and get in there. So we've got some amazing brewers. We got PJ Windle, we got Dan Grieshaber, and so the recipes happen one or two ways. Either, you know, I'll come up with the beer idea, you know, what the adjuncts are going to be, what the hops are going to be, and then I throw it to the guys, finish out the recipe, and they work on a kind of a one-up basis. Like, PJ will take one, Dan will take one, PJ will take one, Dan will take one. But at the same time, we have this pitch policy where anyone in the brewery, not just the brewers, anyone in the brewery can pitch us a beer. It comes down to one of my fundamental beliefs, which is not only that good ideas can come from anywhere, they must come from anywhere. If you're going to be a successful brewery, if you're going to be a successful company, a successful entity of any kind, you have to be getting good ideas from everywhere. So in those cases, a lot of the team pitch beers, we talk about it, we like it, and then one of the brewers will finish out the recipe. So we feel we got a great interactive system, and so far it's been working well.
Excellent. John, thank you so much. Guess we're going to start wrapping up here. Tell us now, Ross Brewing, where can people find you?
Sure.
And, you know, do you have any, like, approximate when your tap room is going to be opening?
So where they can find us, well, the easiest place to find out where we are, head over to Instagram at Ross Brewing. That's ROSSBREWING at Ross Brewing, or Facebook, it's Ross Brewing. And of course, our website, www.rossbrewing.com, where we have a beer finder. Interactive Google map. You can look and see which bars and restaurants, liquor stores, and supermarkets near you are we for sale. As I said this past week, we had some good, we passed a few inspections with the town of Middletown. So that's the first step. We passed those inspections. Second step, we've got to get that certificate of occupancy, send that over to the state, and hope for that license. So there's a pathway to being open this year. I will say this. January 1st of this year, I thought Memorial Day or bust. We clearly busted. All right, so now it's, New Year's Day or bust, and hopefully this time we're going to make it.
Okay, great. John, thank you so much for helping us rechristen the basement. I would throw this against the fireplace if I didn't have to clean it up. So I'm not going to be doing that right now. But John, pleasure having you here. Richard, pleasure having you here in the basement.
Thank you for having me again.
Johnny and Justin, great job. So for myself, Richard, John, thank you all for watching. Remember, follow us, YouTube channel, South Jersey Beer Scene. You can follow what I'm doing, whatever antics and shenanigans are going on under Vic's Basement Brew, Instagram and Facebook, South Jersey Beer Scene. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. With that, cheers, everyone. Have a good night.
Cheers.
Take care now.